Hi, everybody. Dorothy here, Professional Astrologer. You can find me on the web, nhastrologer.com. This is your first time here because I've actually met a lot of new people recently that have found me here on YouTube. And just welcome. And if this is your first time, I'm just going to talk about the week of July 13th all the way until July 19th. I'll talk about where the moon is, the sign it's in, some of the other planetary configurations going on, and how we all can use the energies that are being represented to us through where the planets are and through their movement and their connections to each other. So this is general information for everybody, and in a nutshell, so to speak, what we can expect throughout the week. More personal stuff can be gotten through private sessions. You can reach me here. And this forecast is written as well on the website blog page, and if you're on Facebook and stuff, I'm posting all over there too. So anyways, just come and find me on social media. It all starts right there and right here. So let's get started. Monday the 13th, we have the moon is finishing its trek through the sign of Aries. Now, she's been in Aries all of Saturday and Sunday, and we even have Mercury stationary and went direct Sunday, right? The 12th. But now we're into Monday. So the moon in Cancer is, Mercury in Cancer is stationary. The moon rules Cancer. So the point is like emotions have been really like coming to the surface, bubbling to the surface. I need to talk about this. I need to speak about what's going on in my life. I need to talk about my family and things like that, or how I need to be cared for and nurtured. When the moon is in Aries, we're very self-focused, and it can really stir up a lot of heat and anger and stress. Now, with the moon making the connections it's making early Monday morning to Pluto and Saturn, we're really motivated. You know, a lot of emotions can come up around security, who's in control, how much power do I have? And this is all for very personal looking, personal ways that we can feel this, right? And so we can become angry, we can become very stressed out, very disillusioned. All of these things can happen with these transits, but that's like a negative way to use these things, or just, you're going to use it how you need to, but it's not that functional, right? It's a little dysfunctional to be angry and yelling at people, or just angry at yourself for not doing something, whatever your scenario is. Now, a way we can use this energy is, and especially Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, because I'm posting this on Saturday, the 11th, you can use this by, stepping into something, stepping into courage, finding what it is that you want to do, where you know you need courage to move forward into something. And so this is a way we can use this Aries energy. Mars is going to be in that sign for a long time. And the moon did connect with Mars in Aries on, where was it? It's on Saturday at 5:16, Saturday the 11th at 5:16. So I know I'm going backwards in time, but the point is like there's just a lot of fire and a lot of courage. So we're able to take some steps that we've never taken before. And this is what I want us to focus on, not being upset and angry. But again, if you need to defend yourself, you don't have to be a doormat. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying step up where you know you can. But if it feels too edgy, then don't. All right? Take an extra walk. Go do something else that will just help you to feel better, because that's just so important with all of this Aries energy that's going to be present for a very long time. There'll be a link up here. Over here, to the Mars and Aries video that I've created, and that's going to be valid for like the next 6 months. So check that out when you get a chance. The link will be right up there. So the next bit of things I want to talk about, first off, the moon will enter the sign of Taurus Sunday afternoon, 1:34 p.m. Eastern time. So when we get to Tuesday, the moon will make its monthly connection to Uranus. So when the moon, and that's at 10:14 a.m. Eastern time. So when the moon is in the sign of Taurus for the next couple of days, it likes this sign. It's its second favorite sign. Cancer's the first, and it just feels very, very grounded and very connected. And we can really focus in on the things that we value. But when it makes its conjunction to Uranus, Uranus is always in charge of surprises and being freedom and being innovative and not playing by the rules and, really just upsetting the apple cart, if you will, because if we're too much in a rut, then the energy of Uranus is going to push us out of that rut. And so when the moon comes together like this is just an opportunity to break away from something that is just old news or you've been doing too much of, just so you can feel a sense of inspiration, innovation, brainstorming. These are positive ways to use this as opposed to being afraid that something is shifting quickly. And so that is a piece of what's going on Tuesday. Another piece of what's going on Tuesday is the sun opposite Jupiter. Now, this happens just before 4 a.m., really, really early in the morning on Tuesday. So we will feel it coming through on the 13th. But the point of this opposition is an awareness. Now, I've been talking about this with my group on Patreon for quite a while now, and I've said it in a few of my these videos, I believe. But ever since it was Saturn and Pluto made their conjunction at 22 Capricorn back in early January, I knew that, when the sun got to 22 degrees, and pretty soon Jupiter and Pluto will be at 22 degrees. That's this month in July. It'll happen again in November. So what is all this astrologies right here? When the sun is at 22 Cancer, it is opposite Jupiter at 22 Capricorn. Again, this is the same place in January where Saturn and Pluto were connected. This was the beginning of the pandemic, even though here in the United States, we were told it was nothing, don't worry about it. So this is a marker in time, marker in the astrology. And so we need to pay attention to what's going on. You pay attention to what you were doing in January and how things were, coming together, what you were working on, what was coming together, what was important in your life. You look at that for yourself. Now, if you're somebody who really wants to look at the global picture or the picture of the United States, there's plenty of people that are doing those forecasts. That one's not me. I like to keep it personal. I'm a Gemini. And so I want you to look back to see what was going on, but we know it was something important because it gets reinstated at this point in time with the sun in the opposition to that 22 degrees where Jupiter is, where Pluto and Saturn were in January. So we know that there is a lot going on. So January, July, and then November. In November, Jupiter and Pluto the sun will have moved on, but Jupiter and Pluto will be there at the same time. And so we know that the thing I've been saying is when I see these guys come together as they are, things are picking up, right? The energy of this virus is picking up again. And I figured as much. Jupiter expands whatever it's connecting to. And then we'll probably see something else relating to it as well in November. It's after election. So it's the week after election, but it's still coming through. Still, it's an interesting year. These 3 points in the calendar, definitely a stressful year for most of us, but we can handle it little daily bits here and there. And that's what we're trying to do right now. So that's what we have there. Maybe I'll show that chart for you guys because I don't mind. See if I have that one up. Do I have that one up? Yes, I do. There it is. I want to share that with you if you don't mind. Share my screen. Here it is. So here it is right here. This is just what it looks like in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, where I'm at. But there's that opposition of the sun and Jupiter. And I'm recording this on Saturday, the 11th. And, again, the moon's in Aries. And the police and sirens all day long have been absolutely nonstop, right? Another thing that we have going on July 14th is that Mars conjuncts Chiron. This is the wounded healer. And so Mars here, conjunct Chiron, this is an opportunity for us to really go in deep to see what that wound is, so we're able to find some time or find some space to begin some healing. And so that's something that you might want to check into for yourself as well. What's going on really, really personally. So maybe it's time for you to take some steps forward for some healing in regard to your own personal wants and needs. All right, so what else do we have going on? Now let's move on to Wednesday, the 15th, the moon in Taurus. With the moon in Taurus, again, that's going to help us feel a little more grounded, even though there is some really edgy Aries energy going on. So there's always more than one thing happening at the same time. We all know that, there's some good stuff here, and then there's some stuff that's challenging. And so some of the good stuff here, let's talk about that, right? The moon in Taurus, it makes a trine aspect, which is an easy aspect to all the Capricorn planets that we've talked about, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto. And so that is very grounding. We can feel things can feel easy. Focus on the things that are working really well. If there is something that is just giving you a lot of difficulty, it's wonderful to be able to just focus in on what seems to be going better. The highlight of this day, the way I see it, is when the sun is opposite Pluto, and that's at a little after 3 in the afternoon on the East Coast of the United States. And so what that presents is, again, the sun in an opposition to another planet is an illuminator, right? It's just a big bright light in our face, but it helps us to see where there are power struggles, where we don't feel like we are in charge at all, and where we're giving our power away. And for some of us, we're going to use this energy, because Mars is entangled in some of this too, and will be even tighter as we get through the year. It's where we can finally take back our own courage. We have courage to take back our power and just pull it back in, instead of having, so many things just completely and totally dispersed. I mean, it happens. I could see it a lot with a lot of people in the conspiracy theories that are going on out there. There's always been them, but they're kind of on overload right now. And I mean, they're just running rampant. And that's Neptune and Pisces, of course. And that just went retrograde recently. And so that's amplifying it. But here, people are just reading and believing and not doing any research. So you're giving all of your power away. And I'm not saying things are true and untrue. That's not the point. The point is, make sure if you're believing something, well, really do some research and see if that's the truth, or if you're just blindly following and giving your power away. I think with the sun opposite Pluto on this day, that will help a lot of people to sort of be broken from the spell of some of the things that they feel is the truth, but they need to see a different truth. And, I'm not saying who's right and who's wrong, because that's not what this is about. I'm not a political astrologer, but that's how I see it. And if you're feeling that, then, give yourself an opportunity to step away from the cray-cray. I know, oh boy. Anyways, let's move on to whatever's next. Let me take a look. All right, so on Thursday, the 16th, Friday, the 17th, and Saturday, the 18th, well, early Saturday, the 18th, the moon is in the sign of Gemini, right? We're just getting to the balsamic lunar phase. What does that mean? When the moon is in Gemini, we need to talk about how we feel. And we want to gather information. We're going to gather information. We're going to sift it. We're going to sort it. We're just going to get more and more and more information. Now, lots of conversations, easy or hard, it doesn't matter. We're going to tie up a lot of loose ends. That's the balsamic lunar phase. So one of the best ways to use this is to gather as much information as you can. And you're going to be doing this naturally, because the moon in Gemini just wants us to naturally do this. We're always asking lots of questions. But in this lunar phase, just before the new moon, it's about distilling information, which means you're going to sift and sort, and you're going to say, this is true, that's not true, this is true, that's not true. And you're going to get the thing, clear the deck a little bit, and you're going to come down to some core beliefs and some core understandings. This is what we can do during this moon in Gemini in that balsamic lunar phase. Another thing that can come up with this is these conversations that we all have inside, right? It doesn't even have to be a conversation with somebody else. But if you're having a lot of internal dialogue, I want you to ask yourself, who are you having that internal dialogue with? Is it the critic, or is it the higher self? Pay attention to that, all right? Because it's very, very easy to listen to that critic. When you say, oh, I should have done this, or I could have done that, or why didn't I do this? I mean, we all do it. We all slip into that. But the higher self is as available as that critic. So do yourself a favor and try and pull a little more into that. Step it up into a higher vibration. That's what the balsamic, that's not completely about what the balsamic lunar phase is about, but what it really comes down to is we just really want to distill the information. The balsamic phase is about going within deeply and surrendering to what is. We're able to see a bigger picture. So definitely ask yourself what that is for you. What is it that you want to be able to do for you, and who is that inner critic, and how can you answer those questions so that it's the ego, right? The false self, so that can calm down and the higher self can have more airtime. Right? That's what we're really looking for. We're all guilty of it, and we've all been through a lot, and this is traumatic for all of us. I can't say all, but most of us. This is traumatic, and we're all handling things in the way that we need to. But treating yourself well is one of the most important things to do. Now we're going to go on to the 18th. The moon enters the sign of Cancer at 10:24 in the morning Eastern time, and it will stay in the sign of Cancer, and the next new all the way on the 19th, and then we will have the new moon on Monday, July 20th, and I'll talk about that in next week's forecast. I'll get it out a little earlier than this one. But when the moon is in Cancer, that means it's going to be in the opposition to all of the Capricorn planets at some point in time, right? But not till after the new moon. So the moon in Cancer on Friday, on Saturday and Sunday, in the most deepest, darkest, the darker the moon, that balsamic phase, take care of yourself. What happens? This happens once a year, but this is an opportunity for you to really go in deep and tell yourself, figure out how to take care of yourself, how to nurture yourself. This is what we want. Let's see if I have another chart to share with you. I'm not sure. Let's go look, because that's just going to be, to me, that's just like one of the most important things for us to look at, right? And here's where the, let me see if I'm sharing the right screen. I'm not sure. I'm not. Here we are. This is where the moon enters Cancer. So that's the 18th, Saturday the 18th at 10:24 a.m. Eastern time. And so, and here is the sun in the opposition to these planets right here. So take the time while we're in this balsamic lunar phase. The moon is behind the sun in this picture here, in this chart. And so that is taking care of yourself, nurturing yourself. Now, I want you to pay attention to this date and time as well, because this is where the last new moon in Cancer was, at 0 Cancer. And that was an eclipse, if you remember, the 21st of June. So this is like another little marker in time, a little nod to what did you become aware of at that 0 Cancer moment with that eclipse on the 21st of June. And now here on July 18th, we have an opportunity to like really go in deep with this. I want us to spend like quiet time and really go into meditation, get out of the chatter of life and relax and go in and breathe and find the ways that you can take care of yourself. So important that we do these things, because again, I'm going to stop my share. Because again, I mean, it's just that time, it's just 2020. We need to find a way to take care of ourselves more than ever. So do that for yourself, please. Follow me here. Click all those boxes up there for all kinds of great ways to stay in touch. Thank you very much, and namaste.